Kylian Mbappe will not be re-signing with PSG when his contract expires in 2024. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Welcome to another live stream. Kylian Mbappe, the saga once again continues. It reignites. We are back here again. Kylian Mbappe, PSG. Is this relationship going to end before our very eyes as early as this transfer window? Well, according to a few journalists tonight, the big breaking news is that Kylian Mbappe will not be re-signing with the club going forward and will be possibly on the verge of leaving PSG this summer as his contract does expire next year. This could be huge. As always, get your thoughts, your comments, opinions, predictions, feelings, whatever you want to call it, in the comment section. Would love to read them all and hear your thoughts on, obviously, this big potential breaking news and transfer story. That would be great to hear and everything. Do smash a like on the video. Do subscribe if you are new. Let's get into this. Titan Rohan, I hope I'm pronouncing that name right, by the way, bro. Appreciate you being up at this time and being in the stream and in the chat. All good, bro. All good. And I just thought that this was too big of a story not to talk about right now. Got a few things I want to say and talk about with this story. So I thought, why not hit up the live stream, fire up the live stream, and talk about Kylian Mbappe. Love to know your thoughts on this as well, bro. Love to know what you say on this. Of course, I remember you, bro. We talked. We had a very good live stream. Was it the McAllister one? Was it the McAllister one? Was either the McAllister or the Messi one? Wasn't it? I know. I couldn't remember which one. I do apologize. I do remember, and I do appreciate, obviously, what you did on that stream, because it made for a very good stream. In my opinion. Going back to the Mbappe thing, the McAllister one, I thought so. Thought it was. Thank you very much. Going back to Messi. Now, this news was broken tonight, and Fabrizio Romano was one that I follow particularly on this, that broke it to me first, at least, or the first person that I saw. He stated that Kylian Mbappe has informed PSG of his decision. He'll not trigger the option to extend current contract until 2025. It means that the deal would expire next June of 2024, as Liquip, I can never pronounce that name properly, have called it. PSG position, no plan to lose Kylian for free. Sign new deal now, or he could be sold as early as this summer. This is massive. This is huge, and obviously that news was carried over by a number of journalists and followed up on. One in particular that I read was from Ben Jacobs, who continued it on with a thread. He basically followed up from what Romano stated, and he basically went on to say, if Mbappe failed to inform PSG at all, then on August the 1st, he would have also lost the ability to take the extra year. PSG fuming because the letter was provided to the media before the club saw it. So it was in the public domain before PSG even got an understanding of what Mbappe's position was. Mbappe's contract, if a new deal is not agreed, will thus end in 2024. PSG have no intention to lose Mbappe for free, and this means he could be sold this summer. PSG had initiated discussions with Mbappe on his future, including talks on a new long-term deal, which included other investment projects. Club unsure if this is a tactic from Mbappe. But the letter hasn't gone down well. PSG won't let a scenario emerge where Mbappe leaves on a free transfer. The original letter was published in L'Equipe before PSG knew about it. Club surprised and frustrated by the timing of Mbappe's letter, given the deadline to activate the extension is July the 31st. So we had over a month and a half before he could actually give his decision on whether he was going, but he seems to have his heart very much set on leaving PSG. And of course, with PSG's current position, it does seem like it could happen as early as this summer. Jacobs followed up his tweets by saying, Nasser Al-Khelaifi, I'm so bad with names and words and stuff, is overseeing a new culture at the club and is determined for PSG not to be beholden to a handful of stars. The club are in what is described as phase 2 of their development. This summer, we'll see a focus on youth and French talent, and there is new investment incoming, as exclusively revealed. Arctos are one of multiple suitors looking to buy a 5 to 15% stake in the club. So PSG themselves are going through a lot of transition, it seems. Obviously, we know that they're still out there trying to buy players. We know that Manuel Ugarte is still to be settled. That's still to be confirmed. And we know that obviously Marco Asensio is likely to be joining them as well. But the Mbappe thing is very intriguing because we were here before. We have been here before at this stage where we believed Mbappe was going to be leaving and joining Real Madrid. And obviously, that didn't happen. I'm so confused about the Mbappe situation because if Mbappe joins Real, what number will he wear? Vinicius just got the number 7 shirt. I mean, it wasn't too long ago that Real Madrid was seemingly burning that bridge. They seemingly said that Mbappe was no longer going to be on their radar. So does this change things? Were Real Madrid just bitter that obviously he seemingly went back on his seemingly verbal agreement that he had with the club? Were they angry that basically he used them to get to PSG, to get what he wanted out of PSG? I don't know. Obviously, like I said, this is still early days, and to me, I guess it's just a shirt number, and I guess he'd take maybe the number 10 or the number 9 or something, depending on obviously who's still there at the club and what Real Madrid decide to do. But it's going to be a big summer for Real Madrid anyway, because if memory serves me correctly, Real Madrid didn't buy anybody last summer. And obviously having lost their Champions League crown and obviously lost out on the La Liga title to Barcelona, and by a considerable margin, obviously they're going to want to try and do all they can to get both of their crowns back and be put back on their thrones. And this potential Mbappe spanner in the works at PSG could be a big opportunity for that. But going back to what Romano said and what Ben Jacobs has followed up with, this is big. This is big for PSG. This is big for Mbappe, because this finally is... You don't want to speak too soon on this because we obviously know what this story has happened in the past. We obviously know, like I said before, Mbappe had a verbal agreement with Real Madrid. That seemingly was a done deal. Everybody was seemingly on this sort of belief that Mbappe was going to be joining Real Madrid and that was going to be the be-all and end-all. Mbappe would go to Real Madrid. He'd win numerous La Liga titles. He'd help them to win a couple of Champions Leagues along the way because, let's face it, it's Real Madrid. And he'd go on to have a successful career outside of PSG, outside of France. And it would mean more than if, obviously, he had stayed in PSG, continued to win the French League as PSG are supposed to do, I guess is the word for it. Put in a challenge for the Champions League. Eventually, I think we've all kind of said like they'll eventually throw enough money at it that maybe one year they will win it. But whether they do or not, whether they do it now or later down the line is obviously going to be only for time to tell. But it's going to mean more, and I think he sort of knows PSG's position in this. I feel like if he definitely wants to leave and he definitely wants to move on to bigger and better things, with all due respect to PSG, I think he knew and he knows the club's situation on this. They don't want to lose him on a free transfer, so they're going to have to sell him this summer. And I think that's why he's getting it in early so that his future can be decided. Like I say, we have been here before with the whole verbal agreement thing. This could be a massive and major transfer saga that continues to rumble on, or it could be something that has a bit of a lackluster ending, a bit of a what's the word I'm looking for, where it just doesn't quite live up to the hype and expectation. Just an underwhelming, that's the word, an underwhelming sort of ending with this, because as Ben Jacobs alluded to, PSG believe that there could be a possible element of truth in the fact that maybe Mbappe is using, again, wanting to leave in order to get more of what he wants. When he signed that new deal a couple of years ago, he got everything he wanted and more, in my opinion. Like, there was that kind of deal that he managed to get was probably the biggest in history in terms of the magnitude of what was being offered to him. And he wasn't going to turn that down. I think a lot of people would be in a situation where we couldn't believe what he was offered. Do PSG go down that same route again? Obviously, only time will tell. Again, nothing's ever set in stone. He may say right now that he's not going to sign a new deal, but again, we all thought that when his original contract did expire. So who knows what it's going to be like this time. This is so big. I'm so excited for this transfer window and next season. It is starting to boil up, isn't it? It is starting to heat up a lot, this transfer window. We've obviously seen Alexis McAllister move. There are other players, obviously, that are on the move or have heavy speculation surrounding them or snowballing and gaining momentum around them. And now today, obviously, with this Mbappe news dropping tonight, yeah, this one could be another massive transfer window. If Mbappe is ambitious, he needs to leave PSG. Look at Haaland. He must be jealous. It's going to be interesting what happens with Mbappe, where he goes, because Real Madrid seems the obvious choice. And Real Madrid are going for a bit of transition and rebuild. Like I say, they lost their La Liga crown. They lost their Champions League throne this season. And quite humiliatingly as well at the hands of Manchester City in the semi-final. They're going to need to rebuild, and they're doing that. They've just spent 100 million on Jude Bellingham. That deal will be confirmed and made official very, very soon. If they go after Mbappe, that's two of their top targets and two players that are probably set for the next decade at that club in that historic white strip of Real Madrid. And then they can build around those kinds of players. The midfield is already set for the next 10 years. You know, adding Bellingham to the likes of Valverde, Camavinga, Chouameni is just insane. It's just insane to me. And that, like I said, that midfield for the next 10 years or so is pretty much set in stone. Like, those four players are going to run that midfield for Real Madrid. The defense needs some work upon. Definitely. The defense definitely needs some work upon. It's not been as solid or as strong as it has been in recent years. But you know, that will maybe come with time, and obviously there's a lot of money still to be played with Real Madrid, even though they're not exactly in a, well, I say they're not exactly in the position to do so, but having already spent a lot of money already. But let's face it, it's Real Madrid, and obviously they can do pretty extraordinary things. So we'll have to wait and see on that front. But Real Madrid does seem the more likely opportunity and more likely case for him, and I think that he would love to. I think if you asked him right now, we may be regretting the opportunity not to have joined Real Madrid when he had that chance. Do Real Madrid go back in for him? Like I said, I do remember reading or hearing something that maybe that bridge has been burnt by Real Madrid because they felt used, because they didn't like the way that there was seemingly a verbal agreement in place that Mbappe went back on. Be interesting to see if obviously there's a U-turn there or whether that kind of talk is just nonsense and nonsensical. I think Real Madrid would take him in a heartbeat, and especially when you consider right now that they are in need of a striker. Benzema's gone. There was talk of Harry Kane a couple of weeks ago. Mbappe simply could, now that obviously he wants out of PSG, and he's sort of put PSG in a difficult position, because if they really, really do not want to lose him on a free, that means that all the cards are in the suitor's hands, so to speak, if you know what I mean. The people that are going to be after Mbappe have all the cards in this transfer because he wants out. they're not prepared to lose him on a free. And they can say, all right, we'll give you this amount of money, take it or leave it. And then Madrid have got a massive, PSG have then got a massive decision to make on their hands of whether that money is going to be worth it or whether it's worth taking him for another year and either A, hoping to convince him to stay beyond that year, or B, getting enough money that it makes it so, or winning a Champions League or whatever it may be, to obviously maybe recuperate some of that money more, if that is going to be the case, from those kinds of things that they could possibly do. And although it seems unlikely that they'll win a Champions League and do all that kind of stuff, we'll obviously have to wait and see on that one. I could see a Prem move or Qatar. I was going to say that actually. Like, Real Madrid seems the obvious choice. And I think a lot of people would obviously back that sort of prediction. Real Madrid coming in for him this summer. Like I say, Real Madrid didn't really do anything last summer in terms of transfers. So it leaves her a big window for Real Madrid that they could possibly complete this time around. They've lost a few key players already. So again, that frees up a bit of space, maybe saves up some funds as well. Real Madrid seems the obvious choice. But there are other factors and other things in play. A Premier League move. Depending on obviously what happens with this Manchester United transfer, Saudi owners, we know that they've got links to PSG. Who's to say that as a welcome gift to them, or should we say, a welcome to the new era gift from those new owners, if they are obviously to come in at United, who's to say that that gift isn't Kylian Mbappe right off the bat? United are in need of a striker. United are in need of someone who's versatile like Mbappe. Got ferocious pace like Mbappe. Good finishing like Mbappe. A player that's going to be set there for the next 8 to 10 years like Mbappe for his age, for his quality. And we can finally see Mbappe versus Haaland in the Premier League. We can finally see if Mbappe can live up to the hype outside of PSG. Because, you know, he did it for Monaco. And that was impressive in itself, given it's Monaco, given obviously how they were sort of at that time the second best club in France or whatever it may be, and how they obviously toppled the giants of PSG at that point. And we've seen him do it on a Champions League stage, but he's never had the team around him. And you feel with United, maybe they could build the team around him more, and maybe they could feed him more, and maybe they could actually bring out the best and even more so in Kylian Mbappe. And maybe at a bigger stage and a better stage, he can showcase that ability. And then we can truly get that sort of Haaland Mbappe kind of fight or, you know, debate going properly as to who is the better player. And that could work out for the next, like I say, decade or so. And that'd be very intriguing to see. PSG owned by Qatar. Qatar trying to buy Manchester United. Imagine a statement signing. Yeah, like I say, just said that. But yeah, two great minds think alike. As much as obviously I don't want United to get the Saudi takeover, and obviously that would then open a lot of possibilities and a lot of doors to be opened by them new owners in regards to obviously signings and all kind of monumental things that United could go on to do. It's a possibility, and I feel like it's a big possibility that has just become even bigger now because of obviously this bombshell dropping tonight in regards to Mbappe not wanting to stay on at PSG, not wanting to extend his contract, and PSG looking to be in a position where it's either sell now or lose on a free later down the line. We'll have to wait and see how that goes. Bro, I don't know if you're into finance, but the Manchester United stock share exploded 20%, and it's expecting new owners this week. It's been dragging on, hasn't it? And I think the later it drags on is probably the better for a lot of clubs and a lot of people, in terms of for next season, for the short-term future rather than the long-term future, because United's direction and future is unclear. Obviously, I think a lot of football fans are praying that it's more so the Jim Ratcliffe side rather than the Qatari side of things. But of course, we wait and see on that. It does seem more and more likely that the Qataris are going to be taking over at Manchester United. And that is a scary, scary thought for everybody involved, that United could be on the resurgence and on the resurrection back up. Obviously, if you're a United fan yourself, you're excited about the possibility. You just want, obviously, the takeover to be done right now, I imagine. I imagine you're sick of hearing about the speculation and the rumours and the whispers and everything. But at the same time, like I say, it could open a lot of doors, this potential takeover, depending on which side obviously wins that sort of race to take over United. And if it's the Qataris, the possibilities are going to be endless. And Mbappe could be one of those possibilities. Mbappe, Barcelona, imagine the scenes, and it kind of makes sense. Lewandowski is getting old. It would make sense in terms of that, but I feel like if Barcelona couldn't afford to bring back Lionel Messi, and I'm not saying that Mbappe would be on the same sort of wage structure or anything of a Messi, I just think financial-wise it might not make sense for Barcelona. As much as La Liga would love to have a player like him in their league and at one of their teams, and as much as Barcelona would probably love to have Mbappe playing for them, playing in that famous Barcelona shirt, financial-wise, I don't really see it making a lot of sense for Xavi's side and for the current La Liga champions. So, as much as it's a nice thought, I just don't see it happening on that one. So, there's obviously Real Madrid, which seems likely. There's Manchester United, which could be a possibility if, obviously, things are to go well. Anybody else you want to throw into the mix? Bayern Munich, probably not financially set to accommodate for an Mbappe. Everybody else, Manchester City, if he's okay with playing as a winger, maybe, but I don't think we'd really see the best of Mbappe at a Manchester City. He'd still be great. He'd still win plenty of trophies, of course, but I don't think we'd see the best of him at a Manchester City, given his playing style and the way that he likes to play, and given how everybody that plays against Man City tends to back off and sit 10 men behind the ball. Would we see the best of Mbappe when he's not got a lot of space to run into? Would we see the best of Mbappe when he's being tightly marked by about 3 different defenders? I'm not 100% sure. Like I say, he'd still be great, he'd still be fantastic because he's still a quality player. I just don't think we'll see the best of him there. There is another option that I did think about when this news dropped. It's not an option I want him to consider, but with the growing influence of Saudi Arabia, with the amount of money that they could possibly put on the table for this guy, could he go to Saudi Arabia? Again, I don't want to see him go to Saudi Arabia because I think he's still got it would say to me he's finished. It would say to me that he doesn't care for football enough and he cares more about the money, and it would show his lack of ambition if he is to go. I'm not trying to be disrespectful or play down the Saudi league or whatever it may be, but with the growing influence of the Saudi league, with the money being a massive prospect and a massive pull, it could be a possibility. I don't want it to be, like I say. I don't want him to go to Saudi Arabia. I want him to come to the Premier League. I want to see this whole Haaland versus Mbappe thing work out, or at best go to Real Madrid if you're not going to come to Liverpool, because let's face it, we've tried Mbappe 2022, we tried Mbappe 2021, we tried Mbappe 2020. I wouldn't be surprised if right now Mbappe 2023 is back on the trending thing for Liverpool fans. And as much as I would love to see him in a Liverpool shirt, and it would be exciting and it would be brilliant, we know it's not going to happen. We know it is not going to happen, unfortunately. As much as I would love it, and as much as I think it would be great, and as much as it would be a proper statement signing, we know it's not going to be Liverpool, but Real Madrid seems likely. Manchester United could be a big possibility and a growing possibility at that, depending on their takeover. And Saudi Arabia, I think, is possibly in the background somewhere lurking. Because, like I say, it depends on Mbappe's ambitions. It depends what Mbappe wants to do. And it depends financially where Mbappe's head's at. He could easily go to Saudi Arabia. Easily go. He tears up that league with his pace, with his finishing ability, and he absolutely storms that league as an individual. That could be a big possibility. That could happen. And if so, that would, in my opinion, see the end of Kylian Mbappe as a competitive sort of player. I won't be happy about it, and I'm sure a lot of you wouldn't be happy about it either. But that's the world we might be living in going forward. And the ball is now pretty much in PSG's court a little bit in terms of what they decide to do. I'm sure they've been rocked tonight. Like I say, I don't think they were expecting this news this early. They weren't expecting the news to definitely not be leaked into the public domain, but there we have it. It is in PSG's court. And now it's a case of, do they sell him this summer? Do they hope that they can keep him on past the summer to sign a new deal? Or do they just lose him on a free next season? Ball is pretty much in PSG's court on that. But we'll have to wait and see. Hot take, Saudi Mbappe. Like I say, don't be surprised if he starts getting linked with some Saudi teams. Don't be surprised if come the morning or even come within the next week or so, Saudi Arabia starts sniffing around. They're trying their luck with everybody. They've got deep pockets and they're massively ambitious. So I genuinely wouldn't be surprised. I don't think it will happen, but I genuinely wouldn't be surprised if the links at least start appearing. Not with FSG. Yeah, 100% agree. 100% agree. As much as I'd love to see Mbappe in a Liverpool shirt, not with FSG at the helm. If it was someone else, there might be, again, a growing possibility, but not with FSG. What I'll say on the PSG front, like I said before, the ball is pretty much in their court to an extent. PSG have the opportunity to cash in him now, lose him on a free next season, or pray and hope that they manage to convince him to stay. Whether that will happen or not remains to be seen. As Ben Jacobs pointed out, PSG are under the impression that there might be a slight belief in the way that Mbappe might be using him supposedly wanting to leave as a bit of leverage in negotiations to try and get more out of PSG and get more of what he wants. I think if you're PSG, you're hearing this tonight, you're reading this all, you're trying to take this all in. I think it would be best for PSG to completely cut ties with Mbappe and rebuild. They went through this a couple of years ago and they caved in. They didn't want to lose him on a free. They caved in. They gave him what he wanted and a hell of a lot more, in my opinion. And they caved in. All to keep their star man. All to keep their talisman. All to keep the poster boy of French football right now. At what point do they give up? Because in my opinion, like I say, I think it's best for PSG if they cut ties. When you look at PSG, you look at a team that is pretty much bored of winning the French league every year, pretty much bored of winning the domestic cups every year. They want the Champions League, and that's clear and obvious. And they've tried multiple different ways of doing it. They've tried different managers. They've tried different players. They've tried the star players, the big name players. They tried pairing Mbappe with Neymar and Messi, and then put Pochettino as their manager, because apparently that would work. You know, you've got a manager who's good in Pochettino with a very good style and a very good philosophy and a very good way of playing in a team that doesn't go well with that style. It's not going to go well. The front three, especially, do not play well in a Pochettino style. They won it based on their individual quality in terms of the French league and everything. They won that based on their individual qualities, but it wasn't entirely convincing. If PSG are certain about this rebuild, as Ben Jacobs did sort of allude to, if they are keen on obviously trying a different approach, going into, as he called it, phase 2 of their project, for me, it would be cut ties with Mbappe. They've already lost Messi, obviously. Messi's already gone. He's out the door. He's out of the picture. Neymar, with it being the transfer window, again, obviously speculation is going to mount about Neymar, as it normally tends to do. That's normally leans a bit more 75 to 25, maybe in terms of him staying, but you never know. This season could be the season he leaves as well. For me, I'd be saying cut ties. And it's not exactly the best way to do it right now, given obviously the development that's happened tonight, because you're in a sort of losing position where if you do want to cash in on him whilst you've still got him, you kind of have to take the money that a team's going to offer you, and there's going to be very little room for negotiation because they know that he wants to leave. PSG knows that they want him gone, but they can't come out in public and go, yeah, we want him gone, we don't care, because he's only got 1 year left on his contract. They don't really have a position or a strong hold on Mbappe, whereas to say if he did have 5 years on his deal, he would have. And Mbappe himself, whether it's true he wants to leave or not, whether he is actually using this as leverage to get better position in terms of negotiations, or whether he's actually got his heart set on moving away, that's like 50-50 on that one. But for Mbappe himself, if he definitely does want to go, it might be best for him to get a clean slate, fresh start, and maybe start obtaining some proper trophies in more competitive leagues, with all due respect. Maybe even Champions League titles are on the horizon as well for him. Or, like I say, if he does want to go for the money purposes, go to Saudi Arabia. That could be a possibility. Newcastle, they are owned by Saudi as well. Yeah. I mean, they'd have the money, definitely. It'd be a massive statement if they did have that. It'd be interesting to see him turn up at St. James's Park. Realistic? I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure if that's a realistic target for right now. Although that would be intriguing and I would love to see it, I don't think it's a realistic target for right now. And you've got to think, although he's a star quality name, would he bed in well with that Eddie Howe system? Would he bed in well with obviously the high work rate, the high press, and obviously what Eddie Howe was trying to implement on this squad? Again, it's interesting. It leaves a lot to the imagination, and it's one of them like crazy FIFA signings that you might see, but I'm not 100% sure. I'm kind of terrified about Newcastle. They still have not made crazy signings. I've said this time and time again, mate. I've said this time and time again. Newcastle, we're only just scratching the surface with them right now. They've not made any crazy signings. They've been very smart with their money. I think their biggest signing is probably like 45 million on Anthony Gordon. And that's the kind of money and the kind of fees that Newcastle were paying for before not as often, shall we say, or not as frequent, but as sporadic as it was. They were the kind of signings and money that they were paying for beforehand. Under Mike Ashley, they obviously had the likes of Joe Linton come in for like 40 million. So it's not massively crazy. They brought in Nick Pope for like 15 million. I think Sven Botman was brought in for 35 million. So it's not crazy money, but it's been money well spent. And I've always said this, you don't need to spend crazy amounts of money. You can find gems and you can find brilliant players in players that are less well known, that are going to still do a job, that are maybe a bit more hungry and a bit more determined than the starry, flashy, lighty name that you kind of see constantly. It's all about your scouting. Look at how Brighton do it. Look at how incredible Brighton are at buying little and then selling on for big profit. They do it constantly, they do it frequently, and they don't panic or they don't moan whenever a big team comes in and swoops in for a player that they managed to pick up for literally peanuts and then go on and sell them for big money. They just take that money, they take a small percentage of it, and they go, don't worry, we've already got a list of about 5 replacements that we can replace that guy with, and they go and do it. You don't need to spend big money, and Brighton are doing it. Newcastle are doing it. Newcastle, like I say, they're doing brilliantly right now, and they're going to invest more into the club. And obviously, as time goes on, that's when they can start to branch out further, and that's when they can actually start to go for the crazy signings and go for the monumental statement signings. It's going to be brilliant for them when obviously they can eventually do that and start making their statement signings, like I say. But they're doing well right now, and they shouldn't try and accelerate things a bit too quick because it could all fall apart if they miss step-by-step points. Wish United knew what scouting and finding gems is instead of buying expensive players. Glazers. Yeah, well, United for a time obviously went for the big flashy names, didn't they? They went for the marquee names that were going to obviously sell shirts. It's one of the reasons why Cristiano Ronaldo, for example, was brought back into the fold at United a few years ago, when obviously at that time United fans were pretty much crying out and demanding a defensive midfielder. Part of the reason obviously was that Ronaldo was rumoured to be going to Manchester City, and maybe in hindsight, had United let Ronaldo go to City, things could have turned out a little differently, maybe for City, in terms of maybe on the downward side. Maybe Erling Haaland wouldn't have gone to City. Everything's a bit of a knock-on effect, and we'll never know for certain whether those things would or wouldn't have happened. But like I say, for United and the Glazers are not footballing people. We know this even from the outside looking in. As I am a Liverpool fan, I know and I can tell anybody and everybody the Glazers are not footballing people. But there you have it. They see the marquee flash name, and instantly the businessmen side in here clicks into gear, and they see the potential of selling merchandise and selling shirt names, and selling the rights to the players to the media, and selling it to this person and this person and this person for sponsorships and all stuff like that. So yeah, we know this, and we understand this, and we know obviously that it's not just United either. I will say this, it's not just United either, but you know, all big clubs are like this. I still find it mad that teams like Brighton go out and do their homework thoroughly and extensively on these types of players to bring in. And yet teams like Liverpool and Manchester United and now Man City are doing it, just come in and they use either the legacy position that their club has in terms of Liverpool and Man United especially, or they can just use the fact that they've got the money to go out and buy these players for expensive for expensive fees. Like, I don't think it's necessarily fair, but at the same time, it is what it is. They sold bloody 2.5 million shirts of CR7. Yeah, I think that was the whole point of it, wasn't it? It was for shirt sales. That's what they needed. They needed to bring in some money. They needed to meet quotas and stuff like that. That's what it did. Bro, what is your opinion on Gvardiol links to Man City? Quality defender. Quality defender first and foremost. Let me get that out of the way and done with. Quality defender. I like the look of him. I can understand why there is a lot of interest surrounding him. I can understand why Pep Guardiola would like him for his age, for his ability right now, for his potential going forward. Left-sided centre-back. As much as I rate Nathan Ake to an extent, and as much as I think Nathan Ake has been brilliant this season, he is obviously upgradable. And Pep likes to keep things fresh. Pep likes to keep things ticking over, shall we say, in terms of hunger and motivation, fresh faces, trying to stay one step ahead of his opponents with new players, new tactics, whatever it may be. Gvardiol to Man City makes a lot of sense in that aspect. Again, I kind of wish that Liverpool would sign him. Liverpool are supposedly after a left-sided centre-back. Gvardiol would fit that bill, fit that criteria. But I think for money, their current position, if they were to go into a race and a battle with City over this, we know City are going to walk out as the winners. So Liverpool had money, you should be all over him. Yeah, 100% agree. Like I say, I think he'd fit in with this system. I think, well, obviously the modified way that Klopp's tried to play towards the back end of this season, moving Trent more into midfield. I think obviously the way that football is going right now, it's evolving again. Guardiola at the forefront of that. Klopp obviously trying to follow suit a little bit. Gvardiol, left-sided centre-back, perfect fit for Liverpool. But money-wise, I don't think it's going to be him. They could use the legacy position, but given the fact that there's no Champions League football in this season for Liverpool, which should not really be an excuse anyway, but it might be for Guardiola. So we'll have to wait and see. I don't like saying this, but with all respect, Virgil van Dijk is getting bad and old, in my opinion. I think he's just played too much football. I think he's still got it, and we've seen flashes of it this season where he's still got it. I think he's just played too much football, and I think in some cases, especially with a player like him, a player coming in that is going to rival him will give him the kick up the backside that he might need to buck up his ideas and to go again. Because when you look at the way Liverpool's defence is, when you think back to how it was with the four, with Trent on the right, Robertson on the left, and then the two of Van Dijk, and then Matip or Gomez or Konate, everyone was constantly talking about, well, Van Dijk, you can't move Van Dijk. Van Dijk's got to be the mainstay. It's who you partner alongside him that's got to change. It's got to be Matip. No, it's got to be Gomez. Gomez is better than Matip. No, Konate's better. Konate's got more room to improve. He's got more physical ability. He's got more pace than the other two. He can easily go there. Yeah, but Matip can bring the ball out from the back and he can dribble and he's confident with the ball at his feet. No one was ever saying that Van Dijk shouldn't be moved. Now, rightfully so, because at that time, Van Dijk was obviously on top of his game. He was at the peak of his powers. He was the best centre-back around. He was phenomenal. My issue is that given the fact that he played a lot of football last season, as in a lot of Liverpool players, like you saw the drop-off in Fabinho as well and a couple of others here and there, played a lot of football, got maybe too confident in his ability. I just think maybe bringing in someone that's going to properly challenge him, properly rival him, maybe give him something to think about, that maybe his place in that team isn't as set in stone as what he might think, may give him the kick up the backside is needed. Because no player ever in any team, I don't care how good you are, should have the confidence that I can play as badly as I want. I can do this. I can do that. My place in the team is unrivaled. My place in the team is set in stone. I don't want any player for that, and especially not my team, where I know that like Mo Salah's like our only right winger, but I still want him to go into every game going, if I have a bad game today, I could get dropped for the next one. Diaz could take my place on the right. Jota could take my place on the right. Whoever. I want that in my team where they have worry that their place could be taken in the next game. I want that. And I want that for Van Dijk. And like I say, maybe that might bring him back to his best. We'll have to wait and see. I don't remember, but was Liverpool supporting the Super League or not? Yes. Originally, Liverpool were one of the teams, I think they were one of the founding teams, actually, supposedly, of the Super League. And then, obviously, things came crashing down. And FSG put out that really poor apology video and said that they will try and make it up to the fans, which a few years later, we're still waiting for. We're still waiting for them to actually pull their finger out. Like I say, they do some great business, and we're not going to like moan about the business that they have done because it's been some good business so far. Alexis McAllister for the bargain price looks a good deal. Obviously, we're waiting to see how he does on the pitch, and that's down to him, but it's still a good deal. But we have obviously made the point that FSG don't do enough. They don't push the boat out enough. They don't pull their finger out enough in terms of signings and everything. And they're more reactive than proactive, if you know what I mean. And this is why FSG don't want to sell in case the Super League happens. The money to be made is very big. Potentially, but also the Glazers were founders of the Super League as well. And they look like they're going to be leaving and getting out of town. So, yeah. Like I say, the Super League will resurrect itself at some point in maybe a different form and a different evolution. But we'll obviously have to wait and see on that one. Back to the original point. Kylian Mbappe tonight has dropped a big bombshell on PSG. He has said that he will not re-sign with PSG when his contract does expire in 2024. He will not trigger the contract extension that is within his right to pull. He had a month and a half left on that to actually decide on his future. He has decided very quickly. In my opinion, with him deciding this early, it says to me he wants out of PSG. And I think he knows that PSG are in a position now where they have to pretty much accept whatever offer comes their way because they don't want to risk losing him on a free next season. There is the slim possibility that maybe he is using this for more leverage in terms of negotiations for a contract extension at PSG. If he does do that, or if he does want to leave for Saudi Arabia, it shows the lack of ambition that Mbappe has. But on the other hand, if he wants to go to Real Madrid and Real Madrid are still interested, or if he's waiting out because he's hearing whispers and rumors of Man United's takeover going to be happening, going to be going to the Saudis for that one, maybe he will go there. But we'll have to wait and see how this one develops. A lot of interesting layers to this story, a lot of interesting thoughts to obviously think about, and a lot of things to dive into as this transfer window does continue to heat up. And like I say, this Mbappe saga could be one of the most hyped up and most incredibly layered and maybe even fiery sagas that we have obviously seen in recent memory. Man, you've got so much potential on YouTube and your knowledge is so good. Keep grinding and keep your passion. I appreciate it, bro. I appreciate the comments. And like I say, I'm looking to grow and evolve and obviously grow the community basically, or grow this community and obviously join bigger communities that are out there on this kind of thing. I do genuinely appreciate the kind words there. So thank you. And thank you for coming along tonight. I know it's been a pretty quiet stream of just like me and you, but hopefully we will grow and we'll get bigger. And I do appreciate your following and your support. So thank you very much, my dude. And I hope things are going well for you in Denmark. I want to say Denmark. I'm really sorry. My memory is absolutely terrible. So I do apologize if I got that wrong, but I do believe it's Denmark. So I hope things are going well for you, my friend. Mbappe to PSG. I am right. Thank God. Thank God for that. I appreciate that, my dude. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Mbappe to PSG. Mbappe's situation with PSG. I've had my thoughts on it. Obviously, I'm going to watch this story as it continues to develop over time. We've definitely not heard the last of this one. I've got to wrap this up though. I gotta go. So, thank you all for stopping by and watching. Titan Rowan in particular, thank you, my dude, because you are absolute G. Thank you all so much for watching and listening. Continue to leave your thoughts if obviously you're watching after this goes live. Continue to leave your thoughts, your comments, opinions, predictions, feelings in the comment section, because I'm sure it'll make for interesting and great reading, whatever your thoughts are on mainly the Mbappe story, but on anything else that we talked about tonight as well. It's been another intriguing and interesting stream. Thank you all so much for watching and listening. Hit the like button on the video on the way out if you haven't already. Subscribe if you're new or want to see more content like this. That would be very much appreciated. Close to 400. I know it's not a big number in today's YouTube, but I'm still very much appreciative of everyone and everybody that stops by and does all that stuff. So thank you all so much for doing that. Yeah, thank you all so much. Titan Rowan. See you later, my dude. Thank you for coming along and interacting tonight. It's been great hearing your thoughts and answering your questions, and obviously back and forth between us. It's all good. Yeah, thank you all so much for watching and listening. I've been Fletch. This has been another Fletch Talks live stream, and I'll see you speak to you all again soon in another video or live stream or whatever it may be.